Yeah. This is one of my books where, like, it's not really a commonplace book. It's it's kind of almost like a scrap notebook, where it's for while I'm watching TV. That's what it started out as, was for while I was watching TV. Thing is, I do feel like I'm living two different lives, and it's to the point where they are not allowed to touch, never mind blending, and it really is affecting me worse and worse the longer I try to pretend that I'm fine with it. Yeah, because when I watch TV, I do feel like I experienced something. I went through something. I got to know people, and I watched them go through things. Like, I feel like I actually experienced something, even though it's just TV. So when people ask me, what did you do? What have you been through? And I'm like, you wouldn't believe the kinds of things that I've been through. But I can't talk about it because it doesn't count, because it was TV. And I know experiencing things on TV is not the same as experiencing it with real life. Just like how some people know things and understand things, but at the same time, they don't really know it and understand it until they've actually experienced it themselves. There's plenty of things. There's all kinds of different levels of knowing and understanding. You can understand something through TV, and then you can understand it because you've actually experienced it in real, or you know someone that's experienced it in real life, or you've learned more about it, or you've whatever, and then you actually experience it yourself. There's all kinds of different levels, and you can't disregard these as being experienced just because they're not up here. There's all kinds of different levels of experience and different kinds of levels of understanding. You can't disregard one just because it's not as high as the others. It is a level of understanding and experience. So it's not real, but it is some kind of experience. At least if you're the kind of person like me, where it affects me. I have dreams and they affect me for weeks on end. There's one dream that was way too real, way too vivid. It was the actual first nightmare that I've had in a long time. Like, it was horrifying nightmare. It was a really horrifying nightmare. And that happened weeks ago. I can still feel it. I can still see it. I can still hear it. And that's the problem. I love talking about dreams. I really do. I don't believe in that whole dreams are like, it means this, and if you dream, it means this, and the whole dream dictionary and interpreting dreams and all that stuff. I know in the Bible there were dreams that meant things, and there was interpreters for them and stuff, but I don't think that's really a thing anymore. I think it like, I don't know. Because, I have a lot of different types of dreams. Sometimes when I dream, it's very clearly the things that were on my mind during the day, or the things I experienced during my day. My brain is very clearly just processing things, because I'm like, that happened yesterday, this was what I was thinking about yesterday. Sometimes it's literally that's all it is. Other times I feel like there's things that in my dream are representing how I feel, because every time I dream about certain kinds of things, I'm like, yeah, my brain is doing this again. And then sometimes it's just plain stories, actual a story, and it's really cool. And some of my books that I've actually written were based off dreams, or started from a dream, or whatever. So that happens too. But a lot of the times, the cool thing about dreaming and how do you dream? Cool thing about dreaming, sometimes different people dream in different ways. Most of the time, I don't technically hear things, and I don't technically see colors. It's more it's not black and white, but it's not colored. It's more I know what the colors are, or just the colors just don't matter. It's not black and white, and it's not colored. It's something in between. If it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. It doesn't matter either way. If there's something has a color and it's significant, I know what the color is, whether I actually saw it or not. And conversations happen that I don't necessarily, it's not that I hear it or whatever. Most of my dreams are more like that. But then there are ones where I definitely literally hear things. I can actually hear things with my ears. It felt like I've physically actually heard something. That does happen sometimes in my dreams. And sometimes in my dreams, there is a definitive color, and it is extremely vivid color with definite, that is what it was colored. And there's also even the details of what people look like or what things look like. A lot of the time it's more like blurry, for lack of a better word, where like I know what things are, but there's not necessarily a detail to it. I know enough and I can fill in the rest, and it's just kind of, you know, what's there is there and what's not is not, and it doesn't matter because I know anyway. And then other ones, like every detail is really vivid, and I seriously wish if there was only one of my biggest dreams since I was young, one of the number one things that I wish and wish and wish that I could do is to draw what I can see in my dreams. Because sometimes, like, the things that I see in my dreams, oh man, I wish I could draw it. Oh, I wish I could draw it. So many vivid things have happened in my dreams. Even when they're not vivid, sometimes it's really cool. But then sometimes it's super, super, super vivid details. And then sometimes, like that horrifying nightmare that I had, that was vivid detail. It combined with some blurry. Some of it was blurry and some of it was a lot more vivid detail. It was very vivid colors, especially the one scene. There was only like 2 scenes that really were the most important parts, and altogether they were probably only about 10 seconds long-ish. They were like super short scenes. But, the vivid color, like, there's absolute color, and I could hear it. There's one sound specifically that I could actually hear, and it's not like an actor that was acting. It was real, and it was horrifying. So, that's a thing with dreams. And I don't remember why I got off on the dreams. Oh, that's why. Because, yeah, sometimes even though it's just TV, or it's just a dream, or it's just whatever, that's what got a hold of me, and my body doesn't let go. So then I have to go to work and I have to pretend that I'm fine. Or I have to go somewhere and meet people and I have to pretend that I'm there when I'm not there. So those things are real too. And like, I don't know, maybe these kind of things wouldn't have as much of a hold on me if I was more actively out there in the real world and all that stuff. Maybe they're like grabbing a hold of me and staying because nothing else is happening. So in a way, they're more real than real life is, because that's where I'm spending all my time. And that's probably a thing too. And that's, people should be aware of that and be careful of that, because I think that's happening too much these days. Because I am not a person, like, my emotions go to extremes and etc. But like, when it comes to opinions and like all the rest of this kind of stuff, I try hard to stay away from extremes. Like, you know, when you talk about conservatives versus liberals, or when you talk about like the right versus the left, or red versus green, or like red versus blue, or like all of these kinds of like whatever, like there's extreme ends of scales, and I very rarely, I can't say never, because it's possible that there are times when I am on an extreme and I don't realize it, or that's different and there's a reason I'm like, whatever. So I can't say never because I don't know. I can't think of everything at once. But I very rarely, it is true that it's very rare that I go to any extreme. It's very rare. I don't like extremes because, like, in general, extremes that are coming to mind right now, I don't agree with extremes. And it doesn't matter even if it's on the side that I'm on. Even if it's something I agree on, the people that go to the extreme with it, I tend not to agree with, because I'm like, you're going too far. There's balances, and when you go to extremes, things are not in balance. So in general, I don't agree with extremes. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. It doesn't matter if you're talking about something I agree with. You go to an extreme with it, and I'm like, I'm out. Go there on your own, because I'm not coming with you. I almost forgot what I was talking about with that too. But I was talking about, like, you know, when you're experiencing things with TV and you like wrap yourself up in that kind of world, and you can go to the extreme where you can literally consider that more important than real life, or you like completely set aside or disconnect from real life. And I think that's a problem with the internet too. Like, people get so wrapped up in the internet and so wrapped up in their own thoughts and opinions that they completely, it's like you literally become blind to the reality and the truth around you that other people are also experiencing. You end up believing that what you're experiencing is literally the only thing in existence, and that's not true. There's like millions of people on the planet, and there are things that we're all experiencing individually and by ourselves, and there's things that we're all experiencing together, and there is truth and there is reality. Both of those are actual real things. And you can't forget that. And you can't ignore that. And you can't pretend that they don't exist, because they do. So, extremes. Don't go to that extreme, because you are harming yourself as well as people around you when you do things like that. So, like, be careful. Be balanced. What's more important than the other? I don't know. Like, when it comes to TV and dramas and stuff, it's not that what I'm seeing on the TV is not like, these are just characters. These are not real people. They do not matter more than real people do. One of the reasons why it becomes such a reality to me is because, like, I'm seeing those people, those actors and actresses and whatnot, and they become real people to me. Like, especially when I go off on people like Jaloon, where, like, I'm actually seeing real life things of them, and I see real pictures of them, and I hear real songs and real interviews and whatnot, and they aren't just a character on the screen anymore. Like, I mean, in Memory Lost, everything that was happening with that character, that's Jaloon. No matter what my opinion of the character is, no matter what happened with the character, and I'll have to do a separate one of that one at some point, probably, because I did of every other character of Jaloon, so I gotta do something with this guy too. I have to. But that affects it. The more real a person becomes, even if it's only the characters, because the actors, no matter how hard you try, the real person does shine through the characters somewhere. You can't get away from that. Real people shine through. Their own real person shines through somehow, somewhere. Whether it's in the words they're saying, like, that's their voice. Even if they change it, that's their voice. It's their eyes. It's like, even when they're acting, like, their movements, there's all kinds of things that will shine through of the real person if you're really looking for it. And, like, I'm one of those people that do, like, I naturally, even if it's just someone on screen, I'm not saying that I notice everything and I see everything. Tons of stuff goes straight over my head, and I've been wrong plenty of times, but I think I've said this in videos before. I am one of those kind of people where I have noticed things and said things about stuff, and it takes people weeks to months to years before they're like, dude, you were right. And I'm like, So that does happen sometimes. And so, like, I'm one of those people, I naturally notice things, and I naturally feel things, and I naturally connect with people, and that just happens. So then it affects things, and if I'm not aware that that's what's affecting things, or if I'm not careful, it can get out of hand, or it can get me very emotional, or it can get me whatever. And so sometimes that's what's happening. What else is there to ramble about right now?